Mercedes have really struggled so far this season, and some people in the paddock are absolutely loving it. Lewis Hamilton in particular is struggling for form, and currently sits 7th in the World Drivers' Championship. While Hamilton and Mercedes struggle, the teams around them have been improving, and it's Valterri Bottas at Alfa Romeo who'll be particularly worrying to Mercedes. The Finn was cast off by Mercedes at the end of 2021 to make room for George Russell. With Mercedes struggling and Alfa Romeo starting to thrive, let's see what Bottas and the Mercedes team have to say about their current situation. If you want to talk about Mercedes problems, you have to of course talk about porpoising. Their performance is being hugely limited by the phenomenon, and as the only team on the grid that is really being held back by it, they're starting to look a little bit foolish. Mercedes driver George Russell was one of the first to really complain about the effect. During pre-season practice, he was calling for regulations to be changed so that teams could deal with it better. He had safety concerns for the drivers at the time. He's still complaining about it now, but with the rest of the grid successfully coping with the problem, his calls for help are falling on deaf ears. Back in Australia, George briefly spoke about the effect it was having on his driving, saying that, "I don't have the confidence to attack with the bouncing. It's such a unique feeling from within the car, and when the car's going up and down, you cannot throw it into these high-speed corners." While he may not have the confidence to fight as much as he wants to, he's definitely putting up more of a fight than teammate Lewis Hamilton. Currently, Russell sits 4th in the World Drivers' standings on 49 points, 21 points ahead of his teammate Lewis, who sits in 7th. It's been Russell's performances that have propped up the Mercedes team so far this season. In the Constructors' Championship, they sit 3rd on 77 points. Currently, they have a 31-point cushion to McLaren in 4th, but with Lando Norris starting to look fast in the Papaya car, that gap could quickly start shrinking. If Mercedes can get Hamilton back racing again, then they'll be able to continue the fight with McLaren. If McLaren get Daniel Ricciardo into a vein of form though, Mercedes will find themselves falling down the Constructors' Championship very soon. Wolff has insisted that Hamilton will quickly return to his combative self, looking to make a difference with the team and emerge stronger than ever. The guy is the best driver in the world, and he's not having a machine and equipment underneath him to be able to execute. In a way, it's irrelevant whether you're 8th or 12th or 15th. It doesn't matter. It's all bad. But the real stars, they recover. There is none of the truly great ones that didn't have certain moments in their careers where things didn't run properly. That is the case now with him, and he's going to help the team sort it out. We'll stick together through good and bad days, and Sunday was certainly a very bad day. Russell agreed, saying he's confident Hamilton will come back stronger after the Imola Grand Prix. "I think it's just how things fall out sometimes in a race weekend. I expect him to come back so strong, and the way he's pushing and motivating the team is inspiring. I'm not getting comfortable with this position because I know what he's capable of." Hamilton is now 58 points behind championship leader Leclerc after failing to score at Imola. With only 4 races completed, the 7-time champion admitted that his chances of competing for the title this season were already over. A weekend to forget, that's for sure. I'm out of it for sure, there's no question about it. But I'll still keep working as hard as I can to try and somehow pull it back together somehow. It was so painful. There are no words for it really. We were hoping we'd get into the top 10. And if we weren't stuck in the train, we would have had the pace to get into the top 10. But that wasn't possible today. We're obviously not fighting for this championship. Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion and most successful driver in Formula 1 history, sounds pretty defeated after just 4 races this season. He and Valtteri Bottas drove together for 5 seasons with Mercedes and were incredibly successful together. But Bottas was always second best to Lewis. On the track, Valtteri had the occasional race where he could beat Lewis, but couldn't mount a serious challenge to him over the course of a whole season. On the occasions it was close racing between the two of them, Valtteri was always asked to move out of the way with team orders. The Finn was used as a tool for helping Lewis Hamilton win drivers' championships, and towards the end of his time at Mercedes, you could see the effect it had on him. He lost his drive, his confidence and his passion to race. His move to Alfa Romeo though seemed to have sparked something new in him, and with rookie driver Zhou Guanyu as his teammate, Bottas looks better than ever behind the wheel of his new car. Currently, he has 24 Drivers' Championship points, which is good enough for 8th in the table and puts him only 4 points behind his old teammate Lewis Hamilton. At Imola, Bottas' fight wasn't with Hamilton, who struggled back in 14th place, it was with George Russell. The two fought for 4th place towards the end of the race, with Bottas losing out to the young Brit by 0.68 seconds in the end. There wasn't a lot between the two racers, and it was good to see them keeping it clean a year after they had a huge crash in similar conditions at the same track. At the time, Russell hit Bottas in the head while the film was still in the car and recovering from the crash, which was George's fault, by the way. They have respect for each other as racers though, and Bottas said he thoroughly enjoyed the entire race as well as the battle against his old employers. Yeah, it was a good race, Bottas said. I mean, even with a bit of contact in turn 2 on lap 1. Luckily, there was not damage. The pit stop for sure compromised the race a bit. After that, we had really good pace. I could push flat out all through the race. I was catching the Mercedes pretty well, and unfortunately, it didn't quite have the pace towards the end to overtake them. But good points. Yeah, really enjoying the battle with Mercedes. It's really good fun. The upgrades we had this weekend definitely made the car even stronger, so it's a good feeling. In typical Scandinavian style, Bottas doesn't tend to show his emotions, but you know that inside he will be over the moon. A move to Alfa Romeo was seen as a step down by many. Since returning to Formula 1 in 2016, Alfa Romeo have been unable to finish above 8th in the Constructors' Championship, but thanks to Bottas, they're currently in 5th, just ahead of Alpine. They're a long way off challenging Mercedes yet, as Zhou Guan Yu can't be expected to contribute regular points in his debut season. But even in Valtteri's wildest dreams, he wouldn't have been expecting to be fighting Lewis in the Drivers' Championship while in an Alfa Romeo. Of course, with his history in the team, Bottas is the obvious target for questions regarding Mercedes' performance. Though he won't know much about the current car or dynamics within the team, he does know the people and personalities. Still, the Finn has kept tight-lipped about what is going on. Earlier in the season, he had a few cheeky remarks, but now that Mercedes appear to be a genuine midfield team, not just a top team struggling, he's curtailed his criticisms a little. I don't know the reasons why they're struggling. I don't know the technical details, Bottas commented. I don't see what happened in the race. I would imagine Hamilton was stuck behind other cars, and if there's a DRS train, it's not easy to pass. I think George had a great start, so that was key for his race today, but I'm sure we'll see a strong Lewis still in the coming races. It is surprising. I never expected it would be that tricky for Mercedes, but they're still scoring points. So hopefully, eventually, we can score more than them. Valtteri might be thinking about it hopefully and eventually, but the time to outscore Mercedes is right now. The Silver Arrows are struggling and currently have a huge target on their backs for the other midfield teams. With Bottas appearing to be driving as well as we know he can, and Hamilton driving worse than he ever has in his career, Alfa Romeo will be rubbing their hands in glee at the thought of getting one over on the Brackley-based team. Does Bottas have the right to take a dig at Mercedes after they dropped him last season? Or is this just a blip for the Silver Arrows, and he's going to be left eating his words soon enough? Let us know in the comment section down below. And on your way out of our pit box, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell to be sure you don't miss out on any of our content. Till we see you next time, drive safe and bye bye.